Hey everyone, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a step-by-step in-depth tutorial for you on how to apply eyeshadow for beginners. So I talk about all of my tips, techniques, eye shapes, what looks flattering on different eye colors, brushes, eyeshadows. I talk about it all. So I really hope that you enjoy and you find this helpful and informative. Be sure to subscribe to my channel before you leave and check out my social media links below. And let's just go ahead and get started. So before we get started, the first thing I'd recommend to do is find out what eye shape you have. So to do this, just go onto Google and type in eye shape chart and then get a mirror and try and figure out what shape you have. So for example, I have a lot of excess skin right here and that kind of droops over my lid, and when I look straight ahead you can't really see my lid. So I have hooded eyes, and figuring out what eye shape you have will really help determine what eyeshadow looks will look the most flattering on you. So from there you're going to want to decide whether you're doing corrective makeup or not. So in this video I'm going to show you the universal techniques and tips that you will generally use no matter what eye shape. But if you are doing corrective makeup, you're going to want to tweak these tips and techniques to suit your eye shape. So what corrective makeup means is you're trying to get your eye shape to look as much like the perfect eye, which is the almond eye shape, as much as possible. So for example, if you had protruding eyes where your lid was protruding and you were doing corrective makeup, you wouldn't apply a shimmer to the lid because that will accentuate how protruding your eyes are and make them look less like an almond eye. Or if your eyes were wide set, you wouldn't apply an inner corner highlight because again that will accentuate how wide they are and make them look less like an almond shape. Or if your eyes were close set, you would apply an inner corner highlight because that will really open them up and make them look more like an almond shaped eye. But like I said today with my video, I'm doing the universal techniques and tips that you would generally use for most eye shapes. So if you're keeping up, I think there's another thing to consider, and that is what colored eyeshadow will best flatter your eye color. And to do this, I'd recommend grabbing a color wheel. So for example, if you have blue eyes, then orange eyeshadow will best suit blue eyes. Or if you had green eyes, then red eyeshadow would best suit you. Or if you have yellowy green eyes, so like hazel eyes, then red/violet colors would suit you. And something to remember is that colors that correct each other also enhance each other. So for example, if you had red acne, then you would apply green to cancel out the redness. But if you placed green and red next to each other, then they enhance each other. Okay, so we have the technical stuff out the way. Now let's move on to the eyes. So you don't want to go straight in with eyeshadow on bare lids. That is a big no-no. You first of all want to begin with primer, and you can either take an actual eyeshadow primer or you can just go in with concealer, which is what I'll be doing today. And what this does is it firstly intensifies the pigment of the shadows, it helps with the longevity of the shadows, and it also creates an even canvas for the shadows to sit on. Because if I went straight in with eyeshadows right now, I've got purple veins all over my lids, and that would just make the shadows patchy and they wouldn't look blended and it would just be a hot mess. So definitely the first thing you want to do is prime your lids. So I'm going in with the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer in Chantilly, and this is a nice full coverage concealer, and I'm taking that on a damp beauty blender. Next thing you're going to want to do is set your primer. If you don't set your primer, your lids will be sticky, and then when you go to apply eyeshadow, the eyeshadow will stick to certain areas of the lid and the look will become patchy and unblended. So I'm going in with the Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'd recommend going in with a translucent powder over a pressed powder that has coverage, as you don't really need that extra coverage. You're going in with eyeshadows over the top anyway, and you don't want to start applying products that have color to it that aren't part of the eyeshadow look. First thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you have no creases on your lid. So the concealer has creased on my lid, so I'm going to go back in with my beauty blender and blend out those creases before I set my lid. And quickly before my lids crease again, I'm going to take that translucent powder on a fluffy tapered brush, which is the Morphe M501, and I'm just going to dust that over my lids to set that primer. For eyeshadows, we're going in with the Violet Voss Pro Matte About You palette, and this is a nice neutral basic palette, which is what I'd recommend for beginners. I'd also recommend investing in a high-end palette, even if it's just one, because although there are many drugstore palettes that are good, You don't want to feel discouraged if the first time you're applying eyeshadow, you're using a $2 product and then you're wondering, why is it going patchy? Why isn't it blending properly? Like, am I doing something wrong? I can't do this. No, it's probably just the eyeshadow quality. So I'd recommend investing in a nice high-end eyeshadow palette. So the shades we'll be using today are Smitten, Crush, and Heavenly. And as you can see by the swatches, they're all different shades of brown. So we're starting off with a light brown, then a medium, then a dark. And this technique can be used with whatever color that you're using. Say you're going in with a purple, then you'll start off with a light purple, then a medium, then a dark. But of course this technique can be tweaked. So say you're going in with 50 shades of purple, you're still gonna start with light purple and then gradually get to dark. Or say you're using 2 shades of purple, you still want to go from light to dark. You don't want to skip ahead and go straight into dark, because that's when you're going to start to create some problems for yourself. The look is going to become unblended and it's just not going to be pleasing to look at. So brushes, the quality of them is just as important as the quality of the eyeshadows we use. So today we're taking 3 brushes. So starting off with the Zoeva Luxe Crease brush, which is nice and fluffy. Then the Zoeva Luxe Petit Crease brush, which is a little bit smaller and denser. Then finally the Zoeva Petit Eye Blender brush, which is much smaller and denser. And as you can see, these brushes go from big to small. So similar concept to the eyeshadows, we're going to take the lightest eyeshadow on the biggest brush and the darkest eyeshadow on the smallest brush. And of course, again, this can be tweaked, but that is generally how it goes. So I just picked up a bit of Smitten on my brush, but before applying it on my eyes, I'm just going to tap off the excess product. And this will help prevent fallout from happening on our cheeks. So taking that shade on a Luxe Crease brush, I'm going to be applying this in my crease to act as my transition shade. And your crease is just below your brow bone, kind of where your eye folds over. And I'm taking that product in windshield wiper motions, and just notice where I'm holding the brush. I'm holding it quite low down so that I have quite gentle movements rather than holding it really up close to the bristles where I'd kind of be like stabbing the product on my eye. And I'm taking that from inner corner to outer corner. And when there's less product on my brush, I'm slowly starting to bring the product up towards my brow bone so that we have a really nice gradient appearance. But where do you stop applying the eyeshadow? So you want to take your brush and line it up to the bottom of your nose, corner of your eye, and bottom of your brow. And that's where you stop applying the eyeshadow. If you kind of bring it down, then you're going to create the look that your eye is drooping. Or if you finish around here, then it's going to make your eye look smaller. So taking Crush on a Luxe Petite crease brush, I'm going to use this to really start to define my crease and create some dimension to the outer corner of my eye. And as I want a little bit more precision with this shade, I'm going to hold the brush a little bit closer to its bristles. And I'm just slightly packing on that product and then using the brush in circular motions to softly blend it out. So as you can see, there's a little bit of harshness around here. So we're going to go back into that first fluffy brush that we used, and we're not picking up any more product because there's still some of the first product on the brush, and we're going to use that to blend the 2 products out to make a seamless gradient. Then if any of the product was lost, we'll just go back in and repeat those steps. Now taking Heavenly on that eye blender brush, and because this brush is so small and dense, it's really going to pack on the product. And I'm going to apply this again in my outer corner of my eye to really create some depth. So once that product has been packed onto my lid, I'm going to go back into that second brush and blend the product out. And if you've noticed, there's a little bit of a pattern. So we use the second brush and blend out using the first brush. And then when we use the third brush, we're going to blend out using the second brush. So I've gone in with the second brush, it's still looking a little bit harsh, so back in with the first brush to blend everything out. So we're looking nice and blended. Now depending on what look you're doing, generally I would recommend going in with a lighter shade on the inner half of your eye. So this can either be a matte or shimmer, but I think that this looks the most flattering on most eye shapes. So I'm going to go in with the Violet Voss Pro HD palette and take Cool Beans, which is kind of like a browny, champagne-y, shimmery shade, and I'm going to show you ways of making it more pigmented. So I'm going to show you the shadow applied with a fluffy brush, a flat top brush, a slightly dampened flat top brush, using my finger with glitter glue placed as the base, and then using a flat top brush with glitter glue as the base. So as you can see, using a brush isn't always the best way to get the most pigment out of an eyeshadow. So today I'm just going straight in with my ring finger on my lid. And I'm stopping applying that product when I hit the middle of my eye. As you can see, I've got a little bit of fallout, so I'm just going to take a fluffy brush and just quickly wipe it away, and as you can see, it is gone with no smudge. There's a few harsh lines happening at the moment, so I'm going in with the second brush we used, and I'm using that to diffuse the line between the shimmer shade and the matte shades. So we're going to add some highlight to the look, and this can either be matte or shimmer, whatever you prefer. So I'm going to take Crystal from that HD palette, which is like a white shimmery shade, and I'm going to start by applying this in my inner corner, and this will make my eyes look nice and big and awake, and also on my brow bone to make it a little bit more prominent. And I'm just taking this shade on a Zoeva Luxe Smokey shader brush. So the lid is done, but you also want to apply some shadow under your lower lash line, and this will balance out the look and make sure that it doesn't look too top heavy. The process of the lower lash line is very similar to the lid. So I'm going to start by taking the first shade we used, which was Smitten, on another Petit eye blender brush, and I'm going to smudge that under my lower lash line. And smudging it under the lower lash line will create a nice, almost smoky eye effect. Using the same brush, I'm going in with the second shade we used, which was Crush, and I'm doing the same process of smudging it under my lower lash line, except I'm tucking it a little bit closer to my waterline. We're then going in with the darkest shade we used, which was Heavenly, and I'm taking that on a Zoeva brow line brush, and using this brush is really going to pack that product as close to the lower lash line as possible. And that is the eyeshadow done. So if you additionally wanted to make your eyes look bigger, you could go in with a white or nude eyeliner in your waterline, or if you wanted to make them smaller or a bit more dramatic and smoky, you could go in with a black eyeliner, but I'm going to leave mine blank and go on with the rest of my makeup, and I'll be back with you in a second. So I just went ahead and put on some mascara and lippy, and we are done. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this was informative and helpful for you and you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye!